Lights, cameras, action! On tonight's program, we will talk about threats to bees, such as colony collapse disorder, varroa mites, and bee stings. And at the end, we'll get into starting a hive of your own. Colony collapse disorder.
Have you heard about colony collapse disorder?
Yes.
And do you know what causes that?
So if I had a certain answer for what causes it, I would either be a millionaire scientist or killed by Monsanto. But I think that from the research that I've seen, a lot of what it is that the neonicotinoid pesticides, which is a pesticide that they use in commercial agriculture, part of it gets into the pollen of the plant, and when the bees bring back the pollen, it doesn't hurt the adult bee, and that's all they really tested when they were testing it. But when it comes back and is fed to the young bees, it messes up with their brain, and they can't find their way back to the hive as adult bees. So that is kind of the best working theory that I've heard of. So I think that if that would be my best guess for what's going on. It's a really big issue because most beehives are within range of commercial agriculture that use this, and it can kill a lot of hives, and it's an even bigger problem because the bees that are infected, it doesn't kill them where you can test the actual body of the bee. It makes them lost, so you can't actually find that bee to test it, which is part of why they're having such trouble proving it. One of the things that I do is I work with research scientists from Haverford College who are testing different hives. Not this one, but 9 of my other hives are being tested. And what we do is we go into the hive and they take all the numbers of how many bees are flying in and out, and I'm trying to separate these covers. How many, then we sample the bees from the front to see what they're bringing in. And then we sample the bees from inside the hive, and they take them back to the lab and they run all sorts of tests on the bees that we collect, and that will hopefully tell us if they're bringing in pollen that have these chemicals in it, and then the hive dies from colony collapse disorder. That'll give us some really good information as to what causes it and stuff like that. But I think it's fair to assume that it's caused by any one of the 100 chemicals that we use to kill insects on commercial crops.
Bee stings and varroa mites.
Which they don't like very much, but it doesn't hurt them.
So she has a sting on her neck. Is that going to make any of the other ones mad?
Not really. I mean, if they start, did you get the stinger out?
No, it's there.
You should pull this, flick the stinger out.
I tried.
As quick as you can.
Yeah.
So what happens is after they sting, they have a little barb on their stinger, and it'll go into your skin, and then when they fly away, the stinger stays there, and that bee will die. So they don't like to sting if they don't have to. But another thing is that stinger has a little muscle on it that'll keep putting some venom into the sting. So if you ever get stung and there's a little stinger hanging out there, you want to flick it out as fast as you can. A lot of first aid manuals say, take a credit card and carefully flick it out. I've never known anyone to get their credit card out fast enough to pull a stinger out. I've just found a hive tool or a fingernail just flicks it out a lot faster. So what we have now is we've let these bees sit. What they're doing is they're covered in powdered sugar now, so they're all cleaning each other off. And one of the things is any bees that have had a mite on them, that mite is going to have been groomed off of them. So I'm going to come over here. The nice thing about this too is you can shake up the bees and they're all in a cage. They're all in the jar. So what you do, and I treated these a couple weeks ago and I don't have a full 300, so we might not see any mites, hopefully. Don't see any in there.
Wait, plant.
That might be one. It's hard to tell. No, I don't think it is. So this is good.
You normally spray the paper plate with water?
One of my hives had 103 mites, which is a 30% infestation rate. Other of my hives had 2 mites or 0 mites. Usually if it's between 2 and 6%, you want to treat for them and hopefully catch it by then. So one of the things I'm doing is testing my hives as often as I can.
If it's 30%, do you lose the hive? Like,
I've heard that it's supposed to be fatal at anything above 6%.
okay.
So my hive that's 30% will probably die.
Yeah.
But it's possible because I got the treatment in right then. If I feed them a lot and the treatment kills enough of the mites that they'll be able to recover. It just kind of depends at that point. That's a really bad infestation rate. So I'm not seeing any mites in this hive, which is really good for the hive.
To clarify, what do the mites do to the bees?
So they hold on kind of like a tick, and they eat the fatty tissue of the bee, which is a part
They
of.
don't suck the blood.
Yeah,
Sounds right.
a lot of the literature on bees say that they eat the equivalent of the bee's blood, which leads back to a study that was done many years ago that turned out to be false when they actually tested it, and it doesn't really make that much of a difference for a beekeeper. But the mites still kill the bees and can kill a whole hive, but it's good to know exactly what they're doing. So this is really good. We're not seeing any mites. You can kind of see there's like a little speck of pollen there. Just anything that would be with the bees. I think that's a leg. So
Starting beekeeping.
has anyone ever seen open to beehive like this before? Yeah. I started doing this when I was about 12. So probably the age of some of you. And I put it up on end so I don't swish any more bees than I have to. Yep. So there's a couple of different sizes of boxes too. Some of them are deeps, like back there. They're like this, but they're a little bit bigger this way. That's good. So this is the bottom box. Usually the queen's down at the bottom. She lays a lot more eggs. And so the pupae and larvae and the younger bees, which are in the cells. The rain, I've never had a good beekeeping experience in the rain. Hurricane Sandy, I had hives up on a hill that was like this, and they were braced up on the hill, and it washed out like the blocks that the hives were on. They all tumbled down and fell everywhere. So I had to drive out in the storm, and the hill was really slippery because there's all these like weeds and stuff on the hill. So I tied tie-down straps at the top, and I'm trying to climb up the hill to tie these hives together, and my bee suit was not sting-proof at all because it was soaking wet, and I guess something about the cotton means that when it's wet, it's not sting-proof. But I mean, I've been keeping bees for 9 years, so I have a lot of times having bees get really aggressive, mostly because I do something that's not particularly smart. I have had times where my suit had holes in it, or I took off the suit. A lot of times I put this hood up, but it wouldn't zipper it, and because I'd be like, oh, I'll just set it up so bees don't get in it, but then I completely forget as soon as it was up, and then I'd be working through the hives, and all of a sudden I'd have all these bees in my suit, which is probably the worst thing because you can't get away from them if they're in the suit with you. You can't get out of the suit without stopping and taking a lot of time, and that makes the bees want to sting you. So there's definitely been some fun learning experiences, but the majority of it is like this: opening up hives, making sure everything's going okay, putting them back together. Getting stung is part of beekeeping, but it's not a huge part. And yeah, do you guys have any questions?
Are there times of year that are busier for you than others, or?
Yeah, so generally when the newbies come, they come in a box, a lot like those white boxes with the red tape. That's from this year. They have 5 deep frames in them, and they usually all come on one day from each supplier. So then I have to go around to every single yard, and it's almost always a day when I'm also like stage managing a play or have a test for school finals for school, and so I'm always running around like crazy when I'm putting the bees in, and then throughout the summer it slows down a lot. Extraction is probably the busiest time. This time I have 21 hives, so my extraction was about, it pretty much took a whole week of working with hives. And a lot of that was because I was working with the scientists collecting samples from the hives. But it was pretty much every day, all day for a week. And then the day that I was extracting,
What's extraction again? It's
so that's where you take the honey out of the hive.
okay.
So
The honey's extraction.
I took one of the boxes. I take the boxes off and I'd shake all the bees off of it, and they don't like that very much. And then I'd move it to another box, and then another person would take it and shake the last couple of bees off of it, and move it to a third box, and eventually you end up with boxes and boxes. And this could weigh 40 to 50 pounds if it was full of honey. This would weigh 90 pounds. So usually, if this box was full of frames, I'd keep it on the bottom so I never have to move it.
Is there like a window of time where you have to do it, or?
Not really.
Okay.
I usually do it in late summer. This year I did it in a little bit earlier than I have done it in the past. And the main reason is I just ran out of equipment. I didn't have enough boxes to put on the hives to keep gathering the honey. Another thing is you can't treat for the mites while the honey's on with most of the treatments because they're not approved for human consumption. And so I was trying to get them off basically as soon as they fill up the hives. And it's a lot of setup and cleanup, so you can do it multiple times, but it's a lot of work every time you do it. So I think I did 17 boxes of honey, and I got about 400 pounds. But it ended up being a 16-hour long day, starting with removing boxes from hives in a bee suit, bringing them to Harrington House, and cutting the wax cappings off the frames and putting them in a centrifuge, which spins the honey around, the frames around until the honey flies out to the sides of the jar. And it's like a washing machine basically. And then the honey will flow out a tap in the bottom and into barrels, and then I can jar it from there. So that was a very long day. I got stung a bunch of times, but it was a good day. At the end of the day, I had 400 pounds of honey sitting in containers, and then jarring is another big thing. And a lot of these things that you can spread out over multiple days if you have your own extraction facility. But yeah, there's definitely busier times. This time of year, it's all about feeding the hives that need it, and the hives that are weaker, treating for mites. I just finished with put little treatment strips in the hives, and the bees rub up against it, and it hurts the mites, and it doesn't hurt the bees as much. And that's why we didn't see any mites in the hive, which is really, really great. So that was a big benefit that I was able to do that this year, because otherwise the diseases can kill the hives in the winter. And then in a couple weeks now, or maybe later this week, I'm going to be putting insulation boards on the top of the hive so that it keeps them a little bit warmer, but more importantly, the condensation doesn't gather on the inner cover and drip down onto the bees. And then I might wrap some of the hives in tar paper, which is also a new thing that I'm doing to try to get more bees to survive. And that'll kind of keep more of the warmth in. And then the mouse guards too will keep the mice out. So that's what's going on this time of year. The winter is pretty much not much going on. Sometimes feeding the hives, which would be that solid white block of, basically it's sugar that the bees will eat. So the winter's definitely a calmer time, not as much going on.